Happy Friday, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Come on, show a little excitement. It's Friday. I know it's freezing. It's still Friday. You probably don't have to work tomorrow. My first guest is going to help us get through the cold and avoid a cold. Dr. Matt Chalmers back on. This is a doctor. If you want a doctor who looks like He-Man, this is the guy you call. Welcome back, Matt.
Thanks, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Let's talk about is it really bad for your health to be in the cold? Like, you don't go outside without a coat on, you're going to catch a cold. I mean, that's the myth, right?
Yeah, the temperature outside doesn't necessarily reflect how easy it is for you to get sick. However, it does make you miserable.
Right. And we all understand, like, you get snotty and then you wipe your nose, and then you open a door and then someone else comes in and opens the door. But what are some ways that you tell people to avoid getting sick?
So the easy things that we should all do, it's wash your hands. It's if you're going to sneeze or cough into your elbow type of thing. But the big deal is make sure you're hydrated. It's really, really a big deal when it's cold because people don't think to drink. But if you've got chapped lips, that's a really good indication that you're dehydrated. So that's
really?
One. Oh, yeah. D3. So D3, when we talk about vitamin D3, what that does is it helps carry ions all over your body. So it helps your body bring the bullets to the fight. So keeping your D3 levels high is going to be really important.
Do I take a pill for that or what?
Yeah. So I usually tell people 5,000 IUs for every 100 pounds of body weight. So if you're a 180-pound man, 5,000 in the morning, 5,000 at night, you should be pretty covered.
I'm not keeping up with that. What do you do? Do you take just a multivitamin that covers all this, or do you take 9 pills a day?
I take about 50 pills a day.
Oh, my God, Matt, I'm not doing that.
Well, taking 1 or 2 of a day is going to be significantly beneficial to your health. So, 1 in the morning, 1 at night is pretty easy. If you're going to get 1 a day would be better. So the more D3 you can get in, pretty much the better on that.
But aren't you just, when you take that many pills, aren't you doing a multivitamin? Shouldn't you just package this all into one pill and we can compound it ourselves?
The problem we get into with that is that you're not going to get all of the different nutrients you actually need at the levels that you need. Specifically, so the other problem is that what are your goals and how are you eating? So, someone who's not getting enough nutrients in, or they have a very stressful life, we need to make sure they're getting all their methylated B vitamins in. We got to make sure that they're getting in all their omega-3 fatty acids. The other problem is with the poisons and the toxins that are in our food, you have to take extra nutrients to help offset all of those things that you're consuming.
Like copper with glyphosate and stuff like you've talked about before?
Exactly. Like your glyphosate issues, your seed oils, your omega-6s, things like that. You've got to really kind of help your body detoxify all those things, and it requires nutrients to do that.
What about all these herbal remedies? Echinacea is one of the big ones. Does that do anything?
Echinacea can help, but the problem you get into with a lot of supplements is the quality of the supplement that you're taking is usually very questionable. So finding the right herbs and the right stuff is very important. There's a lot of different oils that are out. There's a lot of different supplements that are out that are pretty good. The stuff that I carry, I really like. Thorn is a great brand. So, different companies are going to give you different levels of quality.
Go ahead and judge me, but out in where I'm from in Bug Tussle, we used to do the combo of chicken soup and Sprite. I don't have any explanation for that. It seemed to help, but I didn't know anything different. Does that do anything?
I can't speak to the Sprite, but chicken soup, one of the reasons that chicken soup is actually helpful, especially if you make it the old school way with the bones in it, you're getting a lot of the broths, you're getting a lot of the collagen, you're getting a lot of the amino acids your body requires to fight things. So for instance, the very best thing that our body has to fight viruses is lysine, which is an amino acid. Typically with the flu, high D3 and high lysine, you'll knock the normal flu out in about 48 hours. So the chicken soup thing has benefit to it.
What about ivermectin? Would that help with the cold or a flu?
So ivermectin is pretty fantastic. So ivermectin helps kill parasites. And when you kill the parasites, you free up a lot of nutrients back for the body. So that's one. We also see it very, very effective against mRNA or RNA-based viruses. So ivermectin does have a very, very very great place in healthcare. So yeah, ivermectin's a decent thing to take.
All right. So I am married and I spend a lot of close proximity time to Mrs. Parker. And if she gets sick, is there any way I don't get sick when she gets sick?
It's kind of funny because a lot of times you can. So if you're healthy and you're exercising and you've got your immune system built up, there's a good chance that you can actually not get sick when your spouse does. However, especially whatever this flu is that's going around right now is extremely contagious, and so the chances that you're going to get sick being close to them are pretty high.
Yeah, because we're exchanging, you know, germs on a regular basis. I'll just leave it like that. Something else I wanted to run by you. I only got a minute left, so make it quick, Matt. I saw it helps during the winter to sleep with an extra pillow under your head. Something about nasal passages or something. Does that sound like it could help?
If you prop up your body so that you can breathe better, yeah, that's going to be fantastic. I would be a little bit weary about putting one behind your head, though, because as your head cranes forward, you actually block off your airway. And so we get more apnea if you're laying on your back with a pillow craning your head forward. But so I would not recommend that. But if you can prop yourself up like in a chair or something so you can breathe easier when you're congested, that's definitely better.
So people who have those beds that elevate, that actually could help.
Absolutely. Those things are fantastic if you use them right. Yeah.
Well, one day I look forward to affording something like that. Find them at chalmerswellness.com, chalmerswellness.com. Thank you, Matt.
Anytime, buddy.
Dr. Matt Chalmers on The James Show. All right, coming up next, if you have a home remedy that you would like to throw out there, I would love to hear it. You can call in with the show, but also this sounds like something that I'm going to get a lot of emails for, but I'd love to read them all. James at WBAP.com, or you can call me 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. If you got any wellness tips, I'll hear them next. Absent that, we're going to dive right into DOGE, making a lot of news. Elon Musk at CPAC yesterday. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, happy Friday. Welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP. Now on FM at 93.3. Come on out and join us in 5 days. Brian Kilmeade's coming to town. Brian Kilmeade? You mean the guy from Fox and Friends? Yeah, the guy from Fox and Friends. He's coming to Dallas again. And, well, technically he came to Irving last time. But it was so big, we had to move to a bigger venue. So we're going to be at Community Beer at 6 p.m. From 6 to 8, there's going to be a little show, a presentation, a broadcast. And then he's going to hang out and just chat with people. And, you know, it seems like awkward. Like, well, I'm not just going to go up and say hi to Brian Kilmeade. Why not? There's an orderly process that happens where people end up making a line. And then he just kind of sits at. He was at the bar last time, just facing sideways. So his left elbow was on the bar and his right arm was kind of facing you. And there was a line of people that just came up and they're like, hey, been watching you on Fox News for years. I didn't even know you were on KLIF until, a couple months ago, but I love your show. And that's about it. And then they would move on. It works out like that. So come on out February 26th. The event is from 6 to 8, but if you show up a little late, no one's going to mind. You just might not be able to find a seat. I was one of the suckers standing up on the back wall last time because I didn't get there because the James Show doesn't get off the air till 5. So I'll be there. I think Garrett's going to be there. Clayton, yep. Oh, it's confirmed. Clayton, Garrett will be there. And then Clayton and Sybil from the morning show over at KLIF will be there as well. And Miss Parker. I know who y'all really care about. So before we get into the latest audio cuts kind of spelling out what DOGE is doing next, I went and did some research for you. There's been a lot of concern about how what's going on with DOGE, with Elon and his team of nerds going through the Geek Squad or whatever they were called, Big Balls and all those friends, that this was considered, look out, it's a constitutional crisis, y'all. The Constitution is at stake. I guess. I mean, anyway, if you haven't heard that, here's sort of the summary.
New warnings of a constitutional crisis just weeks into Trump's second term.
The stage is set for a constitutional crisis.
Could this signal the start of a constitutional crisis?
Legal experts say our country could be headed toward a constitutional crisis.
They're calling this a constitutional crisis.
This is a constitutional crisis.
I am unapologetic in suggesting we are in a constitutional crisis right now.
Are we already in a constitutional crisis?
Those two words, right? Constitutional crisis.
Well, if they think people going in to audit the spending and make more transparent and expose to the public where their dollars are going, I think you'd be interested in hearing a little sentence here. Well, it's got a semicolon in it, so it's kind of a compound sentence. From Article 1, Section 9 of some rag called the U.S. Constitution. It says, no money shall be drawn from the Treasury, but in consequence of appropriations made by law, semicolon, and a regular statement and account of the receipts and expenditures of all public money shall be published from time to time. So not only is it constitutional, it's kind of required by the Constitution. Not only are you running afoul of the Constitution if you dig into the books and start plastering all over Twitter and Facebook what all is going on. The Constitution tells you this is what you need to be doing. And it doesn't give you a specific time frame. It just says all expenditures of public money should be published from time to time. So what are they really complaining about? It's not the Constitution. It's something else. Now, Elon was at CPAC yesterday, and he was asked a pretty interesting question. When did you change? This is a guy who leaned Democrat his entire life until recently. And for a lot of people, there's sort of a conversion moment, like a Saul on the road to Damascus moment. And for him, I mean, he was kind of vague about it, but I'm always interested in these stories.
Was there a specific moment? Was there a moment that it all changed?
Yeah, when I realized I was a fool. But no, I guess, yeah, I mean, I'd say I was probably politically neutral for quite a while. Leaning a little Democrat,
How do you go from that to this?
Yeah, no.
How does that happen?
Well,
did they go crazy?
Yeah, they did. They did go crazy.
Yeah, they went crazy.
No, I mean that whole cancel culture and it's trying to stop freedom of speech and infringe upon, just in general, infringe upon people's personal freedoms. You know, they just want state control of what you say. They want to, you know, take away your guns. And the reason they want to take away your guns, so like there's nothing you do to oppose them. So it's sort of like, you know, I just like, we just need to restore the fundamental elements of what made America great, which is freedom and opportunity.
All right, so whenever you hear someone give the reason why they went from Team Blue to Team Red, they never say, well, racist, sexist, bigot, homophobe, white supremacy, neo-Nazism, you know, I want a oppressive patriarchy, or I want to oppress people in the letter groups, or any of that. There's quite often just fundamental policy differences. He didn't like the cancel culture. He didn't like their take on free speech. He doesn't like their take on guns. He doesn't like a lot of their economic takes. He doesn't like how spendthrift they are in the federal government. You know, these are all significant, legit policy complaints where he differs with the Democrats with no animus. It's not like he hates people who are okay with an unbalanced budget. It's not like he hates people who disagree with him on some of these fiscal issues or even vice issues. But that's not how it's played in the media. Well, the only reason you support Donald Trump's because you're a sexist, racist, bigot, homophobe, or you don't know what's going on, or you're a dupe, or you're hateful, or you don't have any empathy, or you hate the poor, or you hate minorities of some sort. And that's never anyone's excuse for joining Team Red. It's just those are the excuses that are put upon them. But Elon was asked on the stage at CPAC, you know, about the media bias, and he questions if it's even real, that whole narrative.
I can't believe how bad they are at responding to this. I don't know how you're going to sit there and scream and complain because they're cutting waste out of the government and try to win another election. How do you try to win on that?
Well, at this point, I'm not sure how much of the left is even real.
Yeah.
You know.
How much was propped up by our money? You know.
Yeah. Like literally, you know, you see like these sort of fake rallies where there's like hardly any people, and the media will like frame it and like, you know, get all 6 people, you know, in the frame, but there's like nobody else is there. Like just it doesn't have popular support. But then you learn that like there's hundreds of billions of dollars going to these so-called NGOs. And it's your tax dollars that are funding things that are fundamentally anti-American.
And there's a micro version of that going on in Texas right now. Lawmaker here in the state of Texas, State Rep Briscoe Cain, has a report he put out in the House that shows that the publications that are most funded by the legislators' offices that, and look, what they usually do is buy subscriptions, but all you do is buy subscriptions over and over and over. And instead of giving these media outlets $1 million or $10,000, you just buy a bunch of subscriptions. And look, it doesn't cost the media outlet anymore to get these subscriptions. There's no real noticeable difference than you just giving them the money than air quotes buying subscriptions. They don't even have to print extra papers. They don't even incur a cost. You're not even using the bandwidth that's usually associated with subscriptions. But when you look at the top 10 publications most funded here in Texas by your tax dollars going through DC, Quorum Report, Dallas Morning News, Houston Chronicle, Texas State Directory, Capitol Inside, San Antonio Express News, The Texan, Fort Worth Star Telegram, Texas Tribune. How come most of these outlets are decidedly against you in their narrative? Isn't that weird how you're funding the political opposition? Is there even really a political opposition if they have to be funded and supported? Gives me a lot to think about. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Coming up next, gas prices have ticked up a little bit. How high is it going to go? We'll ask R.T. Trevino from The Crude Truth next on The James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Well, hey there. Happy Friday. It's the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Is it cold enough for you? Well, I get to say actually this time around that the coldest temperatures are behind us. Things are going to be super duper cold again tonight. And I know that's not a technical term, super duper cold, but for, Texans, mid-20s counts as super duper cold. So depending on where you're listening, you may, some of y'all in the far north and northwest reaches of our listening area, look like you might get into the teens. But for the rest of us, you can expect 20s tonight. And then tomorrow, I'm looking at it to warm back up to around 50. And then maybe by Monday, we'll even be back in the 70s. So we can do the proper thing for a Texas winter and have our air conditioner on. Am I right? Thank you. That's the kind of winter I like. My next guest is a frequent guest on the James Show, R.T. Trevino with the Crude Truth podcast. He's the guy that we lean on to talk about anything that happens in the oil patch and things that flow downstream from that, like gas prices. Nationally, gas prices are up just a little bit. Are we expecting them to continue to go up, or should we be concerned about that, RT?
Oh, well, James, thank you for having me on. And in the long term, I don't think it's something to really be too concerned about. Right now, we still have a couple of West Coast refineries still switching over, surprisingly, to the winter blends. And we even actually had one full refinery there on the West Coast shut down for a few days. So that's caused prices of gasoline to rise. But also we did have a spike in the price of oil about 2 or 3 weeks ago. So we're just now feeling those effects at the pump as well. But also, hey, we've hit a cold spell, as you were just talking about, and that's going to cause the price to rise a little bit as well.
So when I look at the national retail gas prices, depending on where you're at around here, it's somewhere between $2.60 and $2.80 for most of us in North Texas. But you go look over in like California, the average price for the whole state, $4.84. Why are they $2 more per gallon for what's ostensibly the same stuff?
Well, great question, James. And really that has to do with the state taxes that California has. They have almost a full dollar more just worth of environmental and state taxes that they make their state residents pay every day.
Wow, that's a shame. I feel so sorry for them having to pay for. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sure it's all part of that highway rail or whatever that they're doing over there. But no, that's really that's the truth. They have an environmental tax, they have a state tax, they have a pumping tax. They basically have way more taxes on their gasoline, and that's why they're always higher than the rest of the United States.
Like, you shouldn't be higher than Hawaii. Hawaii's on islands out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. You have to boat it out there for what does it take? 2 days to get out there, and somehow it's still cheaper in Hawaii than the place that it gets shipped from.
Yeah. No, I mean, as we all know, and first of all, I want to thank anybody that comes to the great state of Texas to live, because it is the greatest place on the earth. But there's a reason why people from California are moving here.
Right. All right. So what do we have to look forward to in the oil patch here in Texas? Are we going to be poking more holes in the ground soon?
I know for us at Pecos, we are continuing to drill this year. We've got another 6 to 8 wells that we plan to drill this year. Definitely not like the majors and Pioneer who, drill pretty near a new well every day. However, we're very excited because of President Trump. The Trump effect is real, and everybody's excited to be back in the oil and gas industry. They're also relieved because they now have an administration that is not trying to kill their jobs every day. And as we just continue to go into 2025, James, as I've shared before, this drill, baby, drill mantra is really going to be about build, baby, build. We had a 100-year-old infrastructure, and we obviously need to be updating it. And as we do that, what we would like to see is updating that infrastructure from coal transportation to clean burning natural gas, which could then carry us for the next 200 years by itself.
Well, what about all the tariff wars? And, we had reciprocal tariffs. We had the problems going on with Canada and Mexico. Is any of that affecting the oil patch?
As far as jobs go, not today. And really, again, those tariffs are nothing more than a smart strategic negotiation tactic that this president has done. You look at, because he threatened Mexico and Canada with tariffs, we now have stronger secured borders, and they realize that they can't afford to import or export their oil to us without basically securing the border. So isn't it funny how our national security is also energy security at the same time?
Well, you don't seem to be too concerned about it. Is oil exempted from some of these tariffs?
No, I mean, nobody is truly exempt from a tariff, and that's why people don't like tariffs. Just a little bit of a brief history, before World War One, that is primarily how the United States actually made most of the money for the government, was through tariffs and not through these ridiculous multiple taxes that we now pay for everything from your fishing license to your driver's license.
Well, and to your gas tax. RT Trevino, what's coming up on the Crude Truth?
Oh, man, James, I always appreciate it. I can't wait to have you on. But no, I've got great insight from individuals like Carr Ingham, who is the Texas Alliance of Energy Producers president. I've got also Ann Bradbury getting ready to come on from, she represents the American Exploration and Production Council right there in Washington, D.C., and fights for the oil and gas community every day, along with George Whitman, who is the president at Black Mountain Oil and Gas, located right here in Fort Worth, Texas.
Good stuff. I look forward to it. RT Trevino from the Crude Truth Podcast and Pecos Country Energy. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you.
See, things are looking up. Things are looking pretty good out there. When we return, though, what do you think about this? What do you think about getting rid of the IRS? Because that's something that was floated by Elon Musk at CPAC. You'll hear that. And also, you'll hear how I think he disagrees with me on DOGE checks. Uh-oh. Who's right? Who's wrong? I'll play the audio. You can decide yourself next. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey, sports fans. James Parker here for the Prize Picks app. Let me give you my updates because I did 2 lineups last night, one for hockey, one for basketball. We won't talk about the hockey one. Thank you very much. That one didn't exactly turn out the way I planned. Congratulations, Canadians. But my basketball lineup, much better. So I had Franz Wagner, who his line, listen to this, his statistic was 37.5. That number means, is he going to get more or less than that if you count up all his points, all his rebounds, and all his assists? And he got 37. I got it right by a half of a point there. So that 2 more on my team, my square was correct. Now I had a 4th one, the Joker, Nikola Jokic. He went nuts, and I was wrong on him. But because I used flex play, because of 3 out of my 4 in my lineup were correct, I won money last night. You can do the same thing, and you can do it using promo code WBAP. You get $50 to play with your first $5 play. Oh, really? Yes. Download the Prize Picks app. You can do what I just mentioned there and get $50 to play with your first $5 play with the magic promo code WBAP. 10 million active users, America's largest daily fantasy sports app. It's Prize Picks. Run your game. Well, hey there. Welcome to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Boy, we've got ourselves in a weird spot here. I am in a position here on the DOGE checks where we talked about this for a long time yesterday, and it was a great discussion. It was an intellectual discussion. It wasn't emotional. People weren't getting butthurt. We were just kind of having a chat about these DOGE checks and whether or not we think it's a good idea. So Elon Musk was asked about it at CPAC yesterday, and of course, he sounded sort of deferential to the idea.
Let's talk about these DOGE dividend checks that everybody's talking about this week. And I know you tweeted out that you're going to, does everybody want like a $5,000 check in the mail? It sounds kind of good, right? And the best part about it would be knowing where it came from, that's $5,000 that you sent them last year.
Totally. It's money that's taken away from things that are destructive to the country and from organizations that hate you to you. That's awesome.
Does it seem, have you talked to
that's like glorious. That's like the spoils of battle, you know?
All right. Well, I wasn't so happy about the DOGE checks. I remember what happened when we got the air quotes free money during COVID. You and I experienced together the inflation that happened afterwards. And that seems to be, philosophically speaking, what we kind of believe on paper when you read the textbooks. You just print a bunch of money and you throw it in the system. Well, of course, it'll be nice for a few months, but you will far, far pay more in the inflation that you have to endure for the rest of your life than that little check that you got. And then I turned around, and yesterday, this wasn't on The View, this was when she was on ABC, wasn't it? Jasmine Crockett agrees with me over Elon Musk.
This is something that is going to be on the Trump administration, and I'm just bracing right now.
Now, President Trump says he likes the idea of giving some of the savings from DOGE back to Americans as kind of a dividend. Would you support that?
Listen, he's just telling a lie. He's not the one that had anything to do with the $1,200 refunds that people had during the midst of COVID. That was done by a Democratic House and Democratic Senate. Right now, what they're going to do is say, hey, we want to give you a refund, but Congress won't let us, because they already know that there's just no money for that. The only reason that those refunds came before was because we were living in different times. This was a time in which hopefully we won't ever go through again. We had a once in a lifetime pandemic. The bad part is that I don't know if it's once in a lifetime, because we know that Ebola, unfortunately, was detected right here in New York here recently. And if we continue down this road of getting rid of scientists or deciding that we don't want to rely on experts as it relates to what they're telling us to do, or we don't want to deal with vaccines and medicine in this country, then we may be facing not only our next pandemic, but our next 2, 3, or 4 pandemics because of their incompetence. So no, we are not in the business of giving out money. And honestly, I don't know what $5,000 will do for you if you are unable to find a job, because I am telling people we are headed towards a recession.
Uh-oh. Now, our reasoning's quite a bit different there, but we have run into an interesting situation here. I agree with Jasmine Crockett, and I disagree with Elon Musk. And again, I know that there's a lot of nuance to be had there, and she wasn't using the same economic rationale. She wasn't bringing up the inflation and whatnot. But a lot of people were focusing on that sentence. She said, I don't know if $5,000 is going to make a big difference. And there's a legit criticism for that if it happened in a vacuum. But it doesn't sound that much different than what I was saying. No matter what the check is, if you get a $5,000 check, but you have to go through 30% inflation, you're losing. The average household brings in, let's just say $100,000 a year. Between you and your wife, do y'all bring in $100,000 a year? What about you? Do you bring in $100,000 a year? If you bring in $100,000, 30% inflation means you lose the spending power of $30,000. Not just this year, but you lose it again next year, and the year after that, and the year after that, and the year after that. And so the increase in inflation is going to cost you about $100,000. And is that $5,000 check worth it? Well, mathematically speaking, no. Pragmatically speaking, no. Technically speaking, no. Economically speaking, no. Yeah, it would be nice right now. But that's the same sort of impulse control problems that people have that lead to so many other problems. Yeah, if you just want to be happy now, why don't you go smoke some crack? Why don't you just eat a whole bunch of candy? Why don't you just drink, sugary sodas and junk food? And because there's consequences later. There's no free lunches here, and there's no free money. You will pay for free money. 800-288-9227. Isn't that crazy, though? how some of these issues, I just sort of agreed with Jasmine Crockett more than Elon Musk. I think you might like this other idea, though. Elon Musk floated the idea of shutting down the IRS.
I mean, I think they fired 6,000 people at the IRS today.
Yeah.
And I think Lutnick said last night that they're talking about shutting down the IRS. And I think it's fair. I think people should realize this is, I mean, the amount of money that we send Washington like 5 or 6 trillion a year. That is such an ungodly amount of money. I mean, what do they, they say like a trillion seconds is like 30 years or something like that. I mean, that's how much we send them, and they seem to never have enough. There must be a lot you can cut.
No, absolutely. People ask me, what's the most surprising thing that you've encountered when you go to D.C., when you're in D.C.? And I said, well, the most surprising thing is the scale of the expenditures and actually how easy it is to, when you add caring and competence where it was absent before, you can actually save billions of dollars, sometimes in an hour.
Yeah.
Like, it's wild.
Ooh, those are big numbers. All right, coming up next, Elsa Kurt. You remember that name? She was Blonde Kamala, the nation's leading Kamala comedian impersonator. And when she comes on after the news here, we're going to ask her the same things I'm asking you right now. Should we get a DOGE check? Should we get rid of the IRS? Could we get rid of the IRS? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Blonde Kamala / Elsa Kurt next. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Well, hey there, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Happy Friday. I know it's a little cold. It'll be close to normal tomorrow, and it'll be back to normal for sure on Monday. Joining me is one of my favorite guests, Elsa Kurt. You knew her as Blonde Kamala during the election cycle, but now we have retired the Blonde Kamala persona, and now she's just little old Elsa Kurt from the Elsa Kurt Show. Welcome back, Elsa.
Well, thank you. It's good to be here. I like when you call me little. I don't like the old, but I like the little, so thank you.
Well, you do look kind of short.
I am short. I am actually short. I own it. It's true. It's true.
So your thoughts on the job DOGE is doing just far?
Well, listen, I'm sure you could easily guess how ecstatic I am over all of it. And I don't know what I love more, whether it's everything that they're doing or the extent of the pearl clutching from the left about what
It's a constitutional crisis, Elsa.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Yeah. Newsflash, guys. No, it's not. And furthermore, they're doing exactly what they said they would do. And I know nobody is used to the government doing what they say they're going to do. But there was no secrecy. In fact, the complete opposite. This has been as transparent as we've ever seen in any type of government capacity. And, the simple fact is the people that are clutching those proverbial pearls are either guilty or they're stupid or they're technically both.
They just don't know anything other than whatever Trump is doing, it's going to be reported as bad. It's going to be framed as bad. It's just orange man bad. We got it.
Orange man bad. Yeah, it's that good old TDS, and now we have EDS along with it, some good old Elon derangement syndrome happening. And, I think that's the bigger irony, isn't it? The bigger hypocrisy, because he was their darling. They loved him until they didn't.
Well, and also,
so typical.
It's the one immigrant they don't support. The other part that we did actually have some gray area on yesterday in the James Show. A lot of callers disagreed with me about the idea of getting a $5,000 DOGE check. Now, I mean, it'd be nice to get $5,000 out of the sky, but I don't want to have to pay for it later with the rampant inflation and whatever. I think it would be more bad than good. Where does Elsa Kurt stand on a $5,000 DOGE dividend?
I tell you, I'm a pretty simple girl. I got to be honest with you. And when I first saw it, my first thought was, "Oh, that sounds great. We'll take that." And I think that's everybody's first thought, right? And I posed the same question you did to my viewers, I guess, followers, whatever you want to call it. And there was a lot of division in there, so that put me in a little bit of a quandary there. So I'm not sure. That would be great, but I guess ideally we want to overall pay less, give away less of our money, as little as we need to. I think we all want to contribute to take care of our country, the infrastructure, the roads, all of the things. We just want it to be fair and reasonable and not get gutted. So I'm kind of good with just waiting it out and see what they decide to do. It'll be very interesting.
All right. Now, I don't know if you heard it or not, but I'm going to assume the people listening to us did not. Pam Bondi earlier today said that she's our new attorney general. She was asked about the Epstein client list. Elsa, you hear this along with our listeners real quick. I'm going to play it for them.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files. That's all in the process of being reviewed because that was done at the directive of the president from all of these agencies.
So have you seen anything that you said, oh my gosh?
Not yet.
Okay.
Elsa, are we going to see the Epstein list finally after all this time?
I don't want to give an absolute because we can't ever, but I tend to think yes. All I know is that I have my popcorn ready. I'm ready with the popcorn to just watch them all start fleeing the country. And this is long overdue. This is something that should have been done, as we well know, quite some time ago. And I truly hope that this happens. And I almost feel bad for the people that are going to be shocked. And I think when Pam Bondi said that she wasn't especially surprised, I think it's because none of the names on there were a surprise to her. all things. And I think the people on the right are going to say the same thing when they see those names. It's going to be kind of like a, yeah, well, I could have told you so, or I did tell you so.
Well,
the left,
we
will
all
be
feel
shooketh.
we all feel really strongly about this, but unlike the cuts that are happening in government, or whether or not we get a DOGE check, or whether or not the tax cuts expire, whether those things directly affect us. This doesn't directly affect any of us, but I'll be damned if I just don't want this to happen just for the sheer intangible of justice.
Yes. Yeah, I tell you, that's what I think we've all been wanting all along. We want accountability. We don't want, retribution, unlike what the left is telling everyone that, we want revenge and retribution and all of these things. No, we want accountability. We want justice. We want truth. We want transparency. We want all of the things that is normal to want from your government. And, that they're balking at all of this, just it says everything you need to know about them, right?
All right, so tell the guy why he needs to listen to the Elsa Kurt show.
Because it's so fun. No, we have a great time on there. It's the Elsa Kurt show. It's Thursday nights at 9 p.m. And of course, as you well know, I'm making the content every day, trying to be as funny as the Kamala days. But I don't know. I can't judge that.
Are you doing
ElsaKurt.com.
You doing any stand up yet?
Nah. I'm so comfy. I'm so comfy in my little life. I'm not saying I'll turn it down, but I'm not seeking it out.
You can write.
But, Kamala may be giving me more work. Kamala may be. There's a gubernatorial run she's talking about, and they're floating her and AOC for a presidential run. So maybe she's not fully retired yet.
Please run that ticket. I mean, how good can life get, Elsa? They're going to run Kamala with AOC. Oh my goodness. That'd just be like another Christmas. All right, there she is, the great Elsa Kurt from the Elsa Kurt Show, formerly Blonde Kamala. Good to hear you get on the James Show. Don't be a stranger.
Thank you.
800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Your response to your new Attorney General, Pam Bondi, saying we may be getting the Epstein list. Do you think we're going to get it? Do you really think we're going to get it after all this time? You think we're going to get the JFK files, the MLK files, the RFK files? 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. I got to tell you, I got a little excited today because I'm skeptical that we're ever going to see the Epstein client list. But Pam Bondi was asked a direct question on Fox this morning.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files.
Yeah, okay, so that's a strong maybe. That kind of sounded like a yes, but it wasn't, was it? Are we actually going to get to see the Epstein list ever? 800-288-9227. This is James in Mesquite. You're on WBAP. What do you think, James?
Hey, I think we're going to get a version of it. I don't think we'll get the actual list. There's probably too much power on that list. It's kind of like the drone release we got when Trump got in there. I think it was said that it was just hobbyists. So yeah, I think they'll release something, but I can't imagine it being the actual list.
Well, I don't like the idea that she has to review it. What do you mean you got to review it? You got to make sure there's no one like that's associated with you guys on there. You got to clean it up. You got to make sure all your political opponents are on there. You're going to change anything? You're going to edit anything? You're going to change your mind? There shouldn't be a review. There should be the release of the list, period, point blank, end of story.
Yes, sir. I agree, 100%. We might get a list of redacted names, just a bunch of black lines.
Well, then that doesn't count. That doesn't count. Yeah, if they release a partial list, that's not getting the list, and I would be super disappointed. But what's their excuse? What could their excuse even be to not release the list, other than some politically connected people are on it? That's it.
I agree, 100%.
Because there's no way this could be like a national security thing. There's no way. Thank you very much for your call, James in Mesquite. If you want to be next, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Do you think we're ever going to get to see the Epstein list? And one of the reasons a lot of people got all gassed up about this is things that were talked about, like when the QAnon narrative first started up. One of the things they talked about was, how there's a pedophile ring that's running all of DC and Hollywood, and it will be exposed. And when Epstein got busted, and when he got arrested, and when he got put in prison, and we knew that there was a list, and we knew that there was important people on it, and then Ghislaine, the beginning parts of the QAnon conspiracy narrative were coming true for a while there. And then, some other weird stuff got added on top of it with Pizzagate and some other weird things, and that kind of fell apart. And then it got revived about this time last year it was on the Club Shay Shay podcast. Shannon Sharp has a podcast. Cat Williams was on it, and he sort of revived this whole thing because he said this, and then the Diddy list gets exposed.
Big deviants is all catching hell in 2024. It don't matter if you Diddy or whoever you is. All lies will be exposed. That's all. And anyone who takes that the wrong way, know why they take it the wrong way.
And not too long after he said that, Puff Daddy got arrested. Puff Daddy did get in trouble. So we have seen progress where the world that you and I were born into, going all the way back through the beginning of human history, there was things that elite people got away with in every society at every frame of time throughout the planet. It's just a normal thing, and it's a horrible injustice, and I wish we didn't live in that world. And then we have a chance here to actually hold the elite accountable. We have a chance here for these people who thought they were going to get away with it, just like they always have, to finally stop that. And if that comes to pass, that will be such a huge inflection point in history. It'll be the first time. When you go back and you read ugly history and you start digging into it, there's pedophiles all over the place. It is really disgusting. There was a guy that, the Battle of Orleans with Joan of Arc, the general that was actually in charge of the fort initially got most of the credit for winning the victory, but it became all of Joan of Arc's victory when we found out he had a bunch of dead kids in his basement because he used to kidnap them and do awful things to them sexually. And so, this guy just kind of gets erased from history. But there's a lot of those. There's a lot of Roman emperors and Tiberius and Caligula and just weirdos and Elagabalus being all weird. So, but they've always gotten away with it. The guy that was next to Stalin that whole time, that was just running around raping generals' daughters. They just always get away with it. Are we finally going to be the first civilization where the common man and the common people, when we band together so powerful enough, it doesn't matter how elite you are, we can still get a little bit of justice for those, the least among us, children, the people with no resources, no power, no clout? It would be amazing. It would be absolutely amazing. I don't know if we all realize how monumental the Epstein list coming out will be. I don't know if we all realize how this would be the first time in history. It's like when we wiped out slavery in the 1800s. Slavery was something that was just a terrible part of the human experience for all 10,000 years of recorded history up until the 1800s. And now we just wiped it out, and it's the most normal thing in the world that everyone's against slavery and everyone thinks it's wrong and everyone thinks that it's something that shouldn't be tolerated in a society. And I think we're about to turn another corner here with this pedophile stuff. Lisa in Abilene, you're on WBAP. What do you think?
Yes, I think that we'll get a downside version of all of it. It's been too long. But on Epstein, you said we couldn't, maybe I misunderstood, but you said we couldn't prosecute. Why can't? Now, I'll say if they could come up with, I went on the plane, I saw what it was, and I left, which you should have reported that. But if you've got people that's gone on that plane 5 or 6 times to that island, they knew what was going on.
Oh, yeah.
Why can't we prosecute them? I don't know.
I don't remember saying we can't prosecute him. I know we can't prosecute Epstein. He's already dead. I hope we can prosecute as many people as possible. Prince Andrew, or, if it's a Republican leader or a Democrat leader, I don't care. All of them go to jail.
I don't either.
All the way up to Donald Trump himself or Kamala Harris herself or whoever it is. There is no sacred cows here. I want them all under the jail. In fact, I want them all executed.
I would like to see that, and I'd like to bring back hanging. I like the cowboy way of life. So, that would be good.
Well, you know what I think might be a similar argument, but just sort of modernized, is you don't have to maybe do hanging, but even if we do something nice like lethal injection, put it on TV and let us all see it. I think that's I think that's part of the societal effect that it's an advantage lost when you have the death penalty, when you had hangings in the town squares. That's not just a punishment like, hey, let's embarrass this guy for doing something horrible. It's also a reminder, hey, the rest of you guys that are out there thinking about robbing and raping and killing, this is how you're going to end up. And having that traumatic visual, it gets burned into your memory a little bit harder than it otherwise would now, doesn't it? 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Coming up next, we'll talk with Janice Spooner, an expert on lending and credit, about getting you out of debt. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, happy Friday. Welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Brian Kilmeade's coming to town. It's coming right up. It'll be here on the 26th of February. I know that sounds like forever away. It's just this coming up Wednesday. It's going to be at Community Beer, Commonwealth and 35 here in Dallas. And Brian Kilmeade's going to start at about 6 o'clock. There will be a 2-hour show that he's going to do, and then he hangs out afterwards, has a couple beers, talks to you, maybe takes a picture or 4 dozen, and you can get home at a decent hour. And I know it's a school night. We're not going to be out late. We're not going to be doing the beer funnel or anything. It's just a nice time for you to meet the guy you see on TV, on Fox News, and you hear on our sister station, KLIF. So for more info, klif.com, wbap.com, communitybeer.com. I'm sure you can find it. It's 2025, and you're a big boy now. My next guest, Janice Spooner, coming back on the James Show. We like to tap into her for any of these financial, especially personal level questions. Welcome back, Janice. You with me, Janice?
I am.
Okay, there you go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Well, I can now. I didn't hear you the first time. All right. So let's talk about credit card debt, household debt, all-time high. Is that a bad sign? Because I have seen people make the case before that when times are good, people will put more on the credit card because they're more confident they have money coming in, they'll be able to pay it off. How do you interpret this?
It is a bad sign. It is because there is a financial education gap, especially with our younger Gen Z, younger millennials, and their usage of credit cards. And there's several factors affecting them.
So do you have some rules of thumb for credit card that you recommend to people?
Yes, don't spend more than you can pay off every month. And that is just the best way. You need to have credit to get credit, so you need to use it, but you need to use it wisely. And there's lots of great bonuses out there that you can get from your cards, but you need to pay those off. Because if you don't, it starts snowballing and compounds, and you're in over your head before you can even blink.
All right, Janice, that's ideal, but for a lot of people listening, they've already got a whole bunch of credit card debt. What do you tell them?
That they really need to take a moment to just stop and assess the situation. Don't be fearful of it. Face that ugly monster. Really get a budget put together, look at your credit cards, and see what those rates are on each and every one of them.
So I am always impressed when people get to that financial level to where they don't have to do a car payment anymore. They just buy a car with cash. You hear about people's grandparents just buying a car with cash. How big of a saver is that? Now, don't you work at a bank and you want people to get car loans? Other than that, though, is that really that big of an economic swing, buying your car with cash?
It really depends on how you're deploying your money. You know, if you have the cash and you can invest it and make a higher yield than the rate is on the car, buy the car with a loan and keep the money invested. But if it's better for you, big picture, to pay cash and make sure that your credit card usage is zero or paid off monthly, that is really probably a better option because credit card rates are between 25 and 35% right now.
Do we see those going down? You have the Federal Reserve saying they're going to lower rates, and eventually, some people can expect that to trickle down to credit cards. Is that what you see?
No, I don't think credit card rates are going to move anywhere significant in any time in the future, if ever. Maybe a little, but not much.
Well, that's not very optimistic, but it sounds like a cold, hard truth. Someone is in over their head with debt so bad. How bad before you say you should look into bankruptcy?
Bankruptcy is the very last thing that anybody should consider because it impacts them for years to come. They need to, even though it looks horrible, if they seek out professional counseling for credit card financing or debt consolidation, you have to assess your habits because if you fix it, you don't want to get back into this situation. But if you go to, there's a lot of credit counseling services available. The oldest, most recognized is www.nfcc.org. They offer free or low-cost counseling. But taking the time, figure it out. It's not impossible. There is hope, but it has to start with it.
All right. Well, you're at Great Plains Bank in Southlake. How does a mid-sized bank like you compete with the big guys, the Chase, the Bank of America? Why should someone choose you guys over one of the giant ones?
That's really an easy answer because we have all the technology and all the tools that any large bank has, but you have the personalized service here where you can come in and you can talk to someone. You're a name, you're a community member, you're not a number. And so with that, it's easy to choose a bank like Great Plains Bank.
How many locations do y'all have?
23.
All right, so a decent little mid-sized bank there. See, my wife has the mid-sized bank, and she doesn't want to leave them. I've always been with one of the big guys because I got in when they were like, anytime you find one of our ATMs, it's free. And now I really don't know what the advantage is, so I just thought I'd ask.
No, it would be better. You're better served at a community bank just because of that personal touch where your partners through it. We walk through it with you. And if you have that, why not take advantage of it? Because then you can gain the wisdom of how to get out of debt, how to buy your next house, how to buy your next small business. Why would you not want somebody that can help you along the way?
All right, and I noticed on your website for Great Plains Bank, y'all have a place to nominate a student for a local scholarship. I guess that's one thing like the big guys aren't doing. They're not giving away a $500 scholarship to Southlake Carroll High School. Are nominations still open for that?
Yes, every month throughout the school year.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Janice Spooner. You can find her at Great Plains Bank in Southlake, GPB or gpbankok.com. Thank you, Janice.
Have a great day. Be safe.
And if you are in credit card debt, it might make you feel a little better to know your host is in a little bit of credit card debt too. I'm not enjoying it. I'm not bragging. Maybe you shouldn't take advice from me on this situation, but you're not alone. The Dallas police chief, interim Dallas police chief, made headlines again, trying to clear up his stance on whether or not the DPD is going to be helping ICE with illegal detainers. And I'll play you what he said coming up next. You let me know if this helps his case any. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. And a story we had talked about, I guess it was earlier this week, the interim Dallas police chief, Mr. Igo, said he's not going to be complying with all the immigration laws, ICE detainer requests. He's not going to do anything special to help those guys out. Now, let's go through the timeline here, because there was a video that was put on the Dallas Police Department's YouTube channel. What was the date on this? Let's see, January 29th of this year. And this started sort of the issue because Tom Homan, the new border czar, already said these mayors or police chiefs or whoever who don't comply with ICE detainer requests, anyone who impedes or blocks an investigation or the law enforcement at the federal level, they're going to be arrested and brought up on charges. And so we're kind of keeping an ear out to see what we're going to do here locally. Here is Police Chief Igo in January.
Dallas diversity is our strength and contributes to the economic and cultural vibrancy of our community. We will continue to serve all of our residents without regard to race, ethnicity, religion, sexual orientation, national origin, or other protected categories. That is not only the law, but it's the right thing to do. The federal government is primarily responsible for enforcing immigration laws. The City of Dallas and the Dallas Police Department will continue to be responsive to community needs and promote public safety for its residents. DPD will continue to enforce city and state laws while upholding the constitutional rights of residents. DPD and other departments are guided by the Dallas Welcoming Strategic Plan, which seeks to serve as a plan for civic, economic, and linguistic social integration and inclusion for the Dallas diverse communities. Currently, there are no changes to how the City of Dallas and DPD will provide services. This also means that if you are a victim of a crime, you have the right to report it, regardless of immigration status.
Yeah, he said diverse and inclusion there a lot, right? And so people got their radars, pinging, rightfully so. And then there was the video that got passed around. I think it came from one TV channel, but now it's been reported several other places where he was doing one of these outreach meetings at a church. Now, it's a Hispanic-speaking church. No one there speaks English, and I think it's a safe assumption that maybe not everyone there has all their immigration paperwork completely up to date. And this got a little more attention.
The Dallas Police Department is not assisting any federal agency on detaining people that are either documented or undocumented in the city of Dallas.
He's not helping them detain anyone, the feds. So, does that mean someone needs to get Tom Homan to come down here with the posse and throw some bracelets on him? Maybe not. He tried to clear this up. This was on, I saw this on the Dallas Morning News, but I think this was from his DPD YouTube channel as well.
The Dallas Police Department has not been asked by either state or federal law enforcement to participate in any immigration enforcement efforts. However, the department has assisted and will continue to assist any agency in the arrest of a person wanted for a criminal offense, regardless of their immigration status. The Department General Order regarding immigration remains in effect. In accordance with this regulation, Dallas officers will not, and I quote from our general order, stop or contact any person for the sole purpose of determining immigration status, and are permitted but not required to ask about the immigration status only of those persons who are lawfully detained or arrested.
He's being a little intentionally cloudy there, don't you think? Because no one is wanting you to just out of the blue go up and start asking random people about their immigration status or use that as the probable cause to initiate an interaction with someone in the community. We just want to know if you already have someone and ICE has a detainer request on them, are you going to hold them and turn them over to ICE? Or are you going to do whatever you would have done whether or not ICE existed? Because that's clearly what you said in previous statements. And then you said something that was completely on the other side of the pendulum when you thought you were talking at a private situation that wasn't going to get out to the public, and then you come out to clarify your comments and you keep them pretty muddy. Now, I think you can make the same deduction the rest of us are making if he is being intentionally not transparent, if he's being intentionally opaque, or at least translucent here, it's because the way he's going to operate is not going to be politically popular. It's going to be criticized. It's not right. The people that he's talking to and the people that are going to hear this and the people of Dallas are not going to like the answer. If it was a popular answer, you would be upfront about it. You'd be a little more transparent. You wouldn't be all over the map. And you wouldn't say these very vague statements that all have escape clauses in them. Make no mistake. He's trying to play both. He's trying to go soft on illegal immigration because that's what he believes, but he can't say it out loud because then he risks what? The wrath of Tom Homan or the wrath of the residents of Dallas, the wrath of the political people who put him in that position of power? All of the above. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. I'm not saying it's always that cut and dry and that simple, but I think in this case, it really is that simple. You hide what you're going to say when you're saying something that's not popular. All right, stick around with the James Show because coming up in about 35, 40 minutes, we're going to give away 2 tickets to see Alabama Shakes. Alabama Shakes, I love them. I might want to. Oh, I can't win these tickets. I'm not eligible. But we're going to play Name That Artist. And since this is a newer band, we have a montage of newer than usual artists for you to glean from. We'll play the montage. You got to guess the 10 artists. And these are all going to be 90s alt rock bands. So look forward to that. Also, music fans, Dierks Bentley is coming to Dos Equis Pavilion May 30th. It's his Broken Branches tour. And so we took that word broken and we made it part of our contest. You could win a pair of tickets by texting broken to 800-288-9227. Text the word broken to 800-288-9227. That'll get you entered into the contest to win tickets to see Dierks Bentley, Dos Equis Pavilion, May 30th with Zach Top and Ban Lula. If you'd like to go ahead and just buy your tickets and not take your chances with the contest, go to livenation.com. I'm James Parker. This is The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Well, hey there, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Look, we're going to do one serious segment, and then the rest of the show is going to be all joking around. But there's no joking on this segment. David Hamilton's coming back on from America's Future series. And I got to tell you, I was already pretty ticked about the whole Israel situation. And then just listening to the news and hearing it all again. This is just awful. The return of the hostages, dead hostages for live hostages is already kind of a squirrely deal to begin with. But then the duplicity, and one of the bodies isn't the mom, and the two sons, they lied about their cause of death. And I mean, just how low can these people go, David?
This is a limbo contest. I don't think you can beat these guys. They can go lower than we can imagine. And this was on purpose. I don't have any faith that this was an accident and this mistaken identity. But then again, I'm sure to the people who think that all Israelis are pigs, think all Israelis look alike. I mean, how would they possibly be able to tell?
Well, I think of this when I think of the 3 weekends of protests that we had against illegal immigration, but so many of the people were flying these Palestinian flags. You happy with yourself, people, flying the Palestinian flags? Is that cool? When you strangled two toddlers to death and then lie about they were killed in an Israeli airstrike. I mean, David, this is just even worse than I thought it would be.
Well, we have to look at the root cause of the psychology. The psychology is driven on the idea that there's an oppressor and oppressed, and people see a country, Israel, a country, being the oppressor, right? So their view is that there's a group of people being oppressed. They use words like apartheid, et cetera. Israel has a country. It's been around since 1948. You can argue whether or not you think it should, but it does. And there are a host, there are dozens of Muslim countries who do not afford the same rights, privileges to non-Muslims that the Israelis, the Jews, provide to Muslims living in their country. But ultimately, this gets down to, I want to fight someone. I need to be a radical in some way, right? Because I'm going to be part of the cool kids club. And I'm too much of a coward to fight a real enemy, so I will go after Israel. These same people would never go after the cartels, and they haven't. They haven't cared about fentanyl, sex trafficking, human trafficking. They haven't cared about that. They would never go after Boko Haram. They would never go after Hamas. They would never go after a real enemy, the Chinese. They would never go after anybody who's serious, who would actually do something back to them. So they will pick on and attack somebody so they can feel like good about themselves and virtue signal. But that is the psychological malaise that has beset this young generation in particular. This is how they are part of the cool kids club and think they're doing some good because they're too big of cowards to take on a real enemy.
So what do you do if you're Israel and this happens? I mean, how many hostages are left? Because once they're all out, I'm not advocating just clearing out all of Gaza, but how else do you stop madness like this?
Oh, no, you do have to clear out of all of Gaza of Hamas people. You have to make sure that all of these tunnels are secured. But keep in mind, if you read the Pew studies and other studies on the beliefs and attitudes of the Muslim community, they do some really good work, and they're not considered conservative or partisan. Most Muslims in the Middle East are in favor of violence toward Jews and the Israelis. They may not do it themselves, but they are not opposed to it, and as a matter of fact, they condone or encourage it. So keep in mind, you're never going to be at peace. And most Israelis in this generation has come to the conclusion, they've been fortified by this, we are going to have to fight forever to stay alive, and we will never be able to let down our guard. The idea that there could be peace for land, et cetera, that has been offered multiple times, and it has always been turned down by the Muslim extremists and the Muslim mainstream. So there is no land for peace opportunity. The two parts that we talk about, the West Bank and Gaza, were taken because the entire Muslim world attacked Israel in the Six-Day War and the Yom Kippur War and tried to drive them from the river to the sea.
Well, if you have a neighbor who says, I have dedicated my entire life to wiping you out and you will never know peace as long as we're alive, they're giving you the out, but it's not a pretty one. They're basically asking to be genocided or at least just removed from the area.
So if you and I had that situation in our lives, like you said, a neighbor, we would have a moral responsibility to go and kill those people rather than watch our loved ones die.
Yes.
Okay, so if I truly felt that someone was going to come after my kids, my wife, etc., well, I would much rather be in prison for having killed them than be alive and well and lamenting the fact that I did nothing about these maniacs trying to kill my family. That's kind of the situation that Israel is faced with. And it's really a very good analogy. I appreciate your analogy. And what they must do is at least cut the head off of it. And that has worked every time. Every time we've gone after their leaders and knocked them down, they change. The leaders are very happy to let young, innocent, and impressionable people martyr themselves. But the old dudes, they don't want to die.
Terrible situation. I don't see it getting better anytime soon.
No, so appreciate your covering this. What we have to do is continue to ratchet up the pressure. We have to ratchet up the pressure on everyone else in the region. There are some reasonable countries like Saudi Arabia who brokered a deal when Trump was in first, the Abraham Accords with Egypt, understanding that Hamas, Hezbollah, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, et cetera, are actually a deeper threat to them than the Israelis could ever be. They understand that for emotional reasons and religious reasons, they don't like the Israelis and the Jews. But the people that threaten them, that could ultimately topple them, are the most radical of their own faith. And they're really two different faiths. They are not the same. They don't have the same faith, right? The really hardcore ISIS types, they don't think that the rank and file Muslims, especially those leaders, the ones in places like Saudi Arabia, are conservative enough. And eventually, as they say that the guillotine is always thirsty. Mm-hmm. Every revolution cannibalizes itself. Eventually, the most hardcore will go after the ones they consider to be too soft.
David Hamilton, America's Future Series. The calendar's about to get heated up for 2025. What you got coming up?
The main thing is May 8th. We have a fantastic event here in Dallas. It is our National Security and Economic Economic Strategy Summit. It's going to be at Circle T Ranch on Westlake in North Fort Worth with Alliance, partnering with the folks at Hillwood. We have Ross Perot Jr. Helping host that. We've got a rather prominent group of people talking about national and economic security issues, and that's on our website. And I'd love for people to go to americasfutureseries.com and check that out.
Thank you very much, David Hamilton. Ugly topic, but it's serious news here. I told you weren't going to like that segment, but the rest of the show is going to be absolutely fun, where it's just going to be nice Friday whimsy from here on out. We got Name That Artist coming up in about 20 minutes, so if you want some Alabama Shakes tickets or just want to play along with the game show, stick around. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. You a music fan? You like Alabama Shakes? You want to go see them? We're going to give away tickets to see Alabama Shakes on today's edition of Name That Artist. I know, you can go ahead and get excited. This is a tough game show. I like it, but I will admit it's tough. Here's what we do. We're going to play you a montage. You have to name all 10 artists. However, I'm not just going to play the montage and then talk to you and you try and recall it off the top of your head. I'm going to play the montage now. And if you know all these songs and you want to go see Alabama Shakes, then you call in 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. If you can name all 10 of these artists. All right, there it is. There's your montage. If you're like, wait a second, I know all 10 of those artists, and I would like to go see Alabama Shakes at the Pavilion at Toyota Music Factory, September 27th. So you have plenty of time to clear your schedule between now and then. Special guest, the Greyhounds. Rest of us, we get tickets at livenation.com. But if you want to try and win them in the next segment, go ahead and call in. And what's going to happen is call in, get on hold, and when we play the montage again at the beginning of the next segment, you're going to get out either a piece of paper or a notepad file on your phone, and you're going to type it in. Just text it in real quick. And so when I go to you on the phone, you can just name them. Bam, 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 bam. So we can give away those tickets nice and clean and easy. Now, one of the websites that you may have heard first about from me is TexasScorecard.com. Have you been going? Have you put some of these other alternative news websites in your rotation? You know, I talk about the Dallas Express or Current Revolt. Texas Scorecard is one of these. And man, if you didn't realize how big the epidemic of teachers getting a little too familiar with your kids are, Texas Scorecard will give you the reminder. And there's two of their main headlines today that have to do with this issue. One of them is one that we had talked about months ago, and she's just now getting sentenced for her improper relationship. The other one is one we just found out about. A 34-year-old lady in Kilgore ISD. That's over kind of by Bug Tussle. When I was in high school, they were in our district for the first 2 years. But yeah, a lady, 34 years old. You know, the shocking part is she doesn't look like she'd have a problem finding a date of age. She's 34, and the person allegedly, reportedly, accusedly, suspected, or whatever, all the other qualifiers in there, person half her age. That's weird. That's how many of these are there? I could bring you one because Texas Scorecard keeps up with it in the section of their website they call the bad apples, because teacher and an apple or whatever. We have now hundreds. They just started this like 3 years ago. They have hundreds of these stories in their database, and these are the ones that become public. Every once in a while, you'll see in Texas Scorecard, it was revealed that there were 6 teachers that had gotten let go, but it never was made public because they didn't want it to go public because it would make them look bad, so they didn't cancel their teaching certificate. They didn't put them in the database. They didn't call the cops. Why? Because if the cops show up and it turns out that you hired one of these teachers, you look bad. So I'm getting the impression this isn't worse than we think. This is orders of magnitude worse than you think. So what do you, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. The other one is New Caney, a teacher / coach, just got 4 years in prison for hooking up with a female student. It's a she. She hooked up with a 17-year-old female student. Let's just go to the phone. I don't even want to talk about this. Oh no, that they're online getting ready for Name That Artist. Good. Let's do that next. This is so bad. Like, just go look at the map and then zoom on. And the other thing you'll notice is this isn't like some of our problems where it's just concentrated in the inner city, or this is just something that happens out in the middle of nowhere. This seems to be irrespective of your location, your race, your age, your socioeconomic level, your suburb, your zip code. None of this matters. Teachers just love kids, and some teachers love kids too much. 800-288-9227 if you want to play Name That Artist. I'm giving away tickets to see Alabama Shakes next on The James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there. Happy Friday. Welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. We're going to play Name That Artist. Today at stake, we have a couple of tickets to see Alabama Shakes. They're going to be in Irving at the Toyota Music Factory. September 27th. Special guest, the Greyhounds. Tickets and info, livenation.com. Now, if you're interested in winning those, maybe you can go ahead and call in right now. But we're going to play this montage of songs, and if you can name all 10 artists, then I'll go to you. You give me the list, the tickets are yours. It really is that simple. So 800-288-9227. But you have to listen to the montage real quick and write all of it down. Get a piece of paper and a pen. We'll play the montage. You write down all 10 of these artists. Then when we call in, we go straight to you, okay? All right, here's the montage for Name That Artist. All right, so there's your montage. And we have a contestant. You can go ahead and call in case Steve and Alan messes this up. 800-288-9227. Hey, Steve and Alan, you ready to play a little Name That Artist?
Yes, I am.
All right, let's hear the list. Ready, go.
Weezer, Beck, Toadies, Black Crows, Third Eye Blind, Counting Crows, Smashing Pumpkins, Everclear, Garbage, and I don't know the last one.
What are the tickets for?
What's that?
What are the tickets for?
Alabama Shake.
Oh, there you go. Oh, what a coincidence. That was the last artist. Oh. Yeah, you were going to say that anyway, right, judges? Judges, does that sound true? Does that word?
You can't handle the truth.
All right, well, the judges are saucy. You're going to win anyway. All right, thank you very much. See how easy it is? Steve and Alan with the fastest round. I didn't have to go to another caller. I didn't have to prod. He wasn't waiting for the correct bell. He just hauled through that one. Well, he's going to get 2 tickets to see Alabama Shakes coming to the Pavilion at Toyota Music Factory on September 27th with special guest the Greyhounds. Get tickets and information at livenation.com. I want to see Alabama Shakes. That'd probably be pretty good. All right. Jasmine Crockett was on The View yesterday. Did you see it? This woman is going places. I don't care if you like her or not. Just this week, this lady's been on, I think, MSNBC twice. She was on The View. She was on ABC News. And she's done a couple of events that were on social media, like a podcast and the event that she had for illegal immigrants here. What was that? Saturday? Sunday? Monday? Somewhere around there? I remember I talked about it on Monday's show. Now, you can come up with your different theories on why she is getting all this media attention, but she is a rising star. For someone who's only been in there, this is her, third year in D.C. I can explain some of this. Number one, whether you like it or not, a lot of it is just based on her looks. She's very pretty, and that shouldn't matter, and that shouldn't help, and we shouldn't think of such things. And you and I, we normally don't. But you got to admit, that definitely helps. And this isn't like a misogyny sort of thing. AOC wouldn't get nearly as much attention. Ilhan Omar wouldn't get nearly as much attention. Jasmine Crockett wouldn't get nearly as much attention if they didn't look the way they looked. But also that applies to guys. When's the last time we had a bald president? Oh, you didn't think about that, did you? When's the last time we had a really fat guy be the president? Howard Taft. I mean, look, before TV came around, looks weren't as important. Before photography came around, looks meant almost nothing. But this is the real world. When's the last time we had a president with a beard? So looks shouldn't matter. But when you look at just the base of history, it does matter. Here's a couple other things she has going for her. Number two, she's really good as a guest on these shows. Her delivery's good. She doesn't talk like a dork like Chuck Schumer, like, well, it has been my experience that over the last... Shut up. You're boring me, and you didn't even get through one sentence. But she also says incendiary things. She goes out and she doesn't mealy-mouth halfway her opinions. She just goes full bore. And I'm not too concerned about her rise, because something else I see in her, the same thing that a lot of us saw when Joe Rogan, started his intellectual journey, and Russell Brand and Ricky Gervais and Elon Musk, even. It's people who started off as a Democrat, but the more involved they got and the deeper they dug, the more they moved toward our side. I wouldn't be too surprised if in 20 years Jasmine Crockett's not on Team Red. It might just take 10 years. But I don't think she's beyond reason. Rosie O'Donnell, you're never going to convince her. Keith Olbermann, you're never going to convince him. So many of these other people, I wouldn't waste your time on. I see a glimmer of hope with Jasmine Crockett, and if she does turn, she would be huge because she is so good at the media. She's good at interviews. She's good at articulating her side of the debate in the public sphere, and she looks good doing it. But she did something that is just a regular pattern here. Trashing Republicans now, and instead of wanting to sound like, oh, you just trash all Republicans, you hate all Republicans at all time, you throw back, no, this is a bad Republican. I wish we had one of those good Republicans like Bush back in the day.
And I know earlier y'all was talking about bring back the Bushes. I'm with you, honey. Like, listen, I mean,
that was some sense of normalcy, democratic norms.
Yes. See, back in the Bush days, that's when it was normal. This is crazy. Well, no, that's not what y'all were saying back in the Bush days. This is what y'all do with every Republican president I've had in my life. When I was a little kid, I remember y'all cussing Reagan, talking about, man, can't we just go back to something normal, the reasonable Republican like an Eisenhower or something? No, yeah, they were trashing Reagan. And then when it got to George W. Bush, he was crazy, a monster, the R word. If only we could get back to nice, civil people like Ronald Reagan. No, it's a moving goalpost thing. I'll play some of the goalpost of Republican hate past coming up on the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Going through the email here, Shelly asked, I was listening to today and a doctor on your program was talking about vitamin D3. I couldn't remember his name. Love your show. Keep up the good fight. God bless. Shelly. That was Chalmers. Dr. Matt Chalmers. You can find him at chalmerswellness.com, CHALMERS. Don't ever hesitate to send me an email on a question like that. I love connecting you people. So, yeah. And if Shelly was thinking that, there might be other people who were wondering who that doctor was. There you go. And then I had another good question from Russell, who was asking about the DOGE checks. Am I wrong to look at this as redistribution because the money was already taken from the American pocket and it's not having to be printed? It already existed, so inflation wouldn't occur. You would just redistribute it back to the American people instead of the organizations it was budgeted for. No, it's still inflationary because it wasn't taken from you. They've already taken all the money from you, spent it, and this was going to be printed money that was going to be deficit spending. So it would still be inflationary if they had to print that money. And it would be inflationary, even if they gave it back to you instead of another organization. I mean, it would work out better for you, but they would still cause inflation for everybody else. So good questions. James at WBAP.com. If you have any more questions. Doug says, brother, Jay Crockett is a hack. Yes, she's a hack now, but I see potential in her that she could possibly change teams because she's not wedded to opposing us and what we actually are. She doesn't come in and say, well, all these cuts and waste to government are bad. She says you're racist, sexist, bigot, homophobe. If she ever finds out we're not racist, sexist, bigot, homophobe, then what's our argument against this? It's not economic. It's not statecraft. It's not the policy positions in which we think would match the Constitution better and the intent of the Founding Fathers. Once she finds out we're not terrible people, she has a good chance to do what Elon Musk did, what Joe Rogan did, what Russell Brand did, what RFK did, what Tulsi Gabbard did. I think she may be that wing of Team Blue, the wing that ends up working with you at some point. So I'm not gonna bust her up too hard, but I will push back against what she said on The View yesterday. Bring back Bush.
And I know earlier y'all was talking about bring back the Bushes. I'm with you, honey. Like, listen, I mean,
it was some sense of normalcy, democratic norms.
All right, for the younger people, that may make sense to you. For the older people, we have heard them say this about every Republican president of our lifetime. This guy is evil, fascist, racist, sexist, bigot. Unlike the last guy who was at least, well, I didn't like him, but he was at least civil. He was at least on planet Earth or not a Klansman or whatever. So let's go back. Well, bring back Bush. Well, what were they saying about Bush back then? And when I say they, I got a wide swath here in the montage.
Is America ready for a black president? Well, we should be. We just had a retarded one.
And then there's the other side. You people that love Bush so much that you can't see beyond the fact that he's a little retarded.
I know America to be a forward-thinking country, right? Because otherwise, would you have let that retarded cowboy fella be president for 8 years? We were very impressed. We thought it was nice of you to let him have a go, because in England, George Bush wouldn't be trusted with a pair of scissors.
Yeah, that's Russell Brand. See how far he's come in the last 17 years? He's now an overt Christian convert saying nice things about Trump. Isn't that amazing? But James, that's just a bunch of celebrities saying things, trying to get a rise. Fine. I'll go get the biggest MSNBC host at the time. What was he saying about Bush? Keith Olbermann.
Last piece of advice. When somebody asks you, sir, about Democrats who must now pull this country back from the abyss you have placed us at, when somebody asks you, sir, about the cooked books and faked threats you foisted on a sincere and frightened nation, when somebody asks you, sir, about your gallant, noble, self-abnegating sacrifice of your golf game so as to soothe the families of the war dead, this advice, Mr. Bush, shut the hell up.
So if they hated him that bad, why are they acting like they like him now or he was decent now? Well, because they're trying to escape the criticism that they're just Team Blue and everything that ever happens on Team Red is bad. They want you to think the criticism of Trump, even though they're saying the same things about him, that this is somehow different. It's not. When Bush was in power, they were saying, well, at least we could have Reagan back. We didn't like him, but he was civil. No, here's what you were saying about Ronald Reagan in the 80s. Bill Hicks.
Why is it always good guys are murdered? John Lennon murdered, John Kennedy murdered. Why is it good guys are murdered? Mediocre hacks live on forever. Martin Luther King murdered. Gandhi murdered. Jesus murdered. Reagan shot, wounded, cancer 8 times. That still walks. This guy's like Jason at this point, man. I'm back.
Yeah, so you know why they do this. Because every time they come out there, they say the same horrible things. But if that's what they say about everybody, then it doesn't mean anything. So they have to try and convince you. They have to go change the past real quick. Like, no, we at least like the previous guy. But don't worry, the next guy that comes along, he's going to be even worse. And they'll pine for the days. Well, at least Trump was civil, unlike this guy who's totally off the handle. No, these ad hominem attacks are shallow, and they mean absolutely nothing when put in the proper context. Your insults mean nothing to me. That's what you say about everybody from Team Red. Now, do you actually have a problem with our preferred policy prescriptions? All right, that's going to do it for the James Show. Thank you very much for hanging out with me today. Go have a good weekend. If you need more James Show action, check out the podcasts wherever you're already listening to podcasts. I got a date night tonight with Miss Parker. We're going to go to Fine Restaurant, and I get to say the fun line where, yes, would you like something to drink, sir? Yes, I'll have a glass of your finest Dr. Pepper. I'm James Parker. This has been the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.